Thanks so much, Dave. Lovely to hear the biophysical scientists singing the praises of the social scientists. We always welcome a bit of that. I'd now like to invite to the stage our first plenary speaker in our Communicating and Connecting theme, Peta Ross. Peta is a proud Juru Traditional Owner whose traditional estate is from the Burdekin River to Bowen. Peta is currently the only female assistant director within a multi-jurisdictional, multi-agency field management compliance coordination unit and specialises in the application of the Native Title Act within both state and Commonwealth legislative frameworks. Peta, together with her team, promotes continued traditional practice and provides support to traditional owners in promoting and managing compliance with traditional law and regulatory law systems within the marine park. So thanks so much, Peta, for joining us today.
Good morning, everyone. The one good thing about being up here is I get to remove this mask and look at everyone's face. More importantly, you get to see my face. Look, I'd like to start off with acknowledging the Walgarookabar people. As per my previous speakers, I'd like to acknowledge all the traditional owners that are within and have connection to the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority. Acknowledge the traditional owners in the room today. For those who aren't aware, we've got Bob Muir over here, a Wapabara man from Ames as well, so we're pretty lucky. The one thing that I find interesting here is the acknowledgements to date. So our wonderful first introductory speaker referred to what's written on the back of here, an acknowledgement of the contribution that traditional owners can give in the protection of this amazing country in the World Heritage Area, and in particular their traditional estate. Despite having not spoken to Dave Wack, I think he's stolen most of my words this morning. But what we're going to do in this very short time frame of 20 minutes is we're going to feed off each other. Because I think it's absolutely beautiful that in my lifetime I get to see this acknowledgement, that we're actually sitting here collectively together and we all collectively and together acknowledge the traditional owners and their contribution to the future of this World Heritage Area. But I'd like to hear back from you guys. I would like to know how we're going to set a legacy. What legacy are we going to provide for our future generations, our people, and for the future generation of the reef? How are we going to move in our personal lives and in our professional lives from that acknowledgement to doing things together to protect this amazing space? And in order to do that, guess what, guys? I'm going to get you up. You need to get up and, if you can, take your shoes off. So while we're slowly doing that, the first thing I notice is that you guys are really easily influenced by jingos. So the next part is, I like to drink rum, so you'll need to buy me one. No? Okay, tried, got to try. I want you all to have a look out there. Turn your body, go and stand up against the window if you have to. What do you see? Do those doors open, Mish? Yep, open the doors. Let's walk out there. actually see it. Have a look what is before your eyes. I want you to have a really good hard look. I want you to see it with your eyes. I ask you to take your shoes off because I want your feet planted. If you have time at some stage during the day, I want you to get out there on the grass and I want you to feel the earth beneath you. I want you to connect with country. I want you to connect with each other. There are common denominators here that bring us all together. That's it. Isn't it? Feel free to answer, it's okay, I'm fairly social. You can say yay, you can say no, you can say whatever words, I've heard it all before. But this is why we're all here, isn't it? Together, individually, it's pretty special. Bloody oath. Thank you. So at some stage during the day, I want you to do exactly this. I want you to get your feet off. I want you to go and stand out on that grass. I want you to look out. And look how flat it is. And we're stuck in the room. I'm sorry. And if this was really a social event, it's spectacular. Let's get back in. Now that we've planted that in your mind, in your eyes, through your feet, through your body, let's get back in. Ladies and gentlemen, I just present to you a common denominator that brings us all into the room. It's something that's really, really special. And it's a connection now that we're all going to have, because I'm hoping that you're going to remember that little exercise. I hope that you're going to talk about it throughout the day. I hope you're going to talk about it when you get home, and I hope you're going to talk about it for the rest of your life. That's what it's about, connecting to country. You've now experienced your first little traditional owner lesson. Stop sitting in the classroom and looking at PowerPoints. Get out there and connect. Find out from here why you are in this room, why you're passionate about this business. More importantly, find out what legacy you're going to leave. Dave Wack did an amazing job, and he talked about the first scientists, and our people often talk about that. Our ancestors passed that on. We've been looking after country for 60,000 years and beyond, with small breaks where government came in and tried to teach us different ways of doing business. Some lost that skill. We're going to revitalise it. Others, we still have our lawmen and lawwomen who are passing these skills down, generation to generation to generation. And that's why native title applies. That's why our business is important, for continued connection of business. I'm asking you all in this room to continue your connection. I'm asking you to see the common denominator with our people. And I'm asking you to reflect. How do we move from this acknowledgement into engaging, into genuine management? I want you to realise that, yeah, it's a little bit uncomfortable sometimes because of the historical nature of this country. It's uncomfortable for me to stand up here and do this. So guess what? Big pants, everyone. It starts with connecting. It starts with a conversation. It moves to passion, a want, a will, and actioning together to leave a legacy a positive legacy, a better legacy than what we've previously done. Is everyone here an academic? No? Okay. Who's the non-academics? Because you're going to be my next best friends. Yay! Love you. The academics, what kind of academics do we have in the room? Sing it out. Come on, own it. Nice and loud. Okay. Money? No? Okay. Beautiful. Anyone else? Come on, own it. You worked hard to get it. Own it. Anthropology.
Sociology.
Who did that one? Okay, I'm avoiding you. Anyone else? Come on. Psychology. Rightio. There's a few, isn't there? How do we all end up here? How can so many different people with so many specialty end up in this room? Commonality. Again, we look out that window and that's our reason why. We feel the earth underneath our feet. That is the reason why. I'd like everyone, just before we finish, to close your eyes. No cheating, or I'll put the mask over your face. Put your hand up if you know that you have something to contribute to this legacy. Leave your hand up if you think that your ways of doing business is the only way to improve in this legacy. Open your eyes and have a look around. Interesting, isn't it? We all have something to contribute. My people have 60,000 years of knowledge, of understanding, of expertise. Today we call them scientists, the first scientists. I've heard from people around the room here today where your specialty lies, but no one here thinks that they know it all. Can I just say I think that's absolutely wonderful? Because what that tells me is that every single person in this room is willing to work together, that we don't know it all, that we can learn from each other. You've got some paper and pens that are on your tables. I'm going to ask you to be a little bit vulnerable, but I'm not going to expose you to that vulnerability. I would like you to write down at any stage throughout the day some of the barriers that may be in place that prevents you from working with traditional owners to build this legacy. If at any stage you want to come and have a conversation with me, please do. I've spent 30 years in regulatory compliance and the bulk of that was with the Queensland Police Service as an appointed detective. I can assure you that I've heard everything. There is absolutely nothing that you cannot, I promise you, that you cannot ask that I'm going to take offence to. But these difficult questions and getting outside of your comfort zone and answering them is required in order to move forward. It's required in order to build this legacy, a legacy that is much needed, again, to protect that. Thanks, guys.
Sorry, Peter's going to take some questions now, if anybody has any questions for Peter. She said you can ask her anything you like. So.
I told you I was uncomfortable. I was trying to do a runner really fast.
I'll ask you a question, Peter.
Thanks, Mish.
Peter, what would be your top of the
I think we just got to take that first awkward step, guys. That's it. Some of the things that I hear professionally is, well, I don't know who to talk to. I can connect you, my team can connect you, there are people here that can connect you. But connection's the key to it. And in order to connect, it's that first step. I personally don't think that that is an excuse. We all live in an area that has a suburb and a town and all the rest of it. We know our neighbours. Why can't we know our neighbours in this space? How hard is it to go and introduce yourself and say g'day and have a cup of tea? But that's probably the biggest one that I hear in our world of government is, well, we don't really know who to talk to. Well, the only way to find out is to get involved, guys.
Is it for the online people?
One of the issues that we come up with is that the way
It's for the people who are online.
knowledge is sort of, I guess, stored and transmitted is very different to how, we do it with our databases and all of that kind of thing. And trying to marry those two things up has been quite a challenge, and it doesn't often work well. There's a desire out there to know that knowledge if it's willing to be shared, but capturing it in a way that sort of works with our systems can be a real challenge. So I'd be interested in your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so basically there's two different systems that are in existence. You have intellectual property knowledge, which is, I think we all deal with that, and we have cultural knowledge and cultural property rights. The difference between the two is the cultural property rights are a collective. They're owned by that group, they're owned by that family, and they're managed by those who speak for that country. So that's the two differences for those who don't understand this business. Instead of focusing on the differences between the two, we need to focus on that aspect of humanity that I'm trying to push through today. A respect of, yeah, it's a different system, but it's a different system that is still managed in the same way. Would you share your personal knowledge willy-nilly with government? Probably not. There might be some people here that would. Groups are very cautious about that. We have, hundreds of years where that information's been used against us for profiteering, for commerciality, for anything and everything. That's how this country was founded. But it sits around that choice, giving people the respect of choice and informed choice as to whether they want to share that information. And your responsibility in this space, again, is to give them that information so that they can make that choice. And out of respect, do everything humanly possible to ensure that that information's protected. As a traditional owner, and I've said it before, I don't know whether I need to cover up my little grabumper badge here on my shirt, but there are places there's no way in the world I would share with any government body. There are other places that are commonly known. And if they're at risk, I'm going to need all the help I can get to protect that. Risk, reward. You're not going to know unless you have the conversations. You're not going to have the conversations unless you have a connection.
Could I just ask anyone who would like to ask a question, could you please use the microphone so that the people online can hear you? Thanks.
Good morning, Peter. It's Keith Noble from Terrain NRM. Last month, I think it was last month, I was fortunate enough to attend the Rainforest Aboriginal Peoples Forum in Cairns, and a large part of the conversation was the divide between land and sea management that occurs in our contemporary approach and how it's at odds with a traditional approach. And having worked within government departments, I realised the need for separations and some of the problems that comes with those silos. But I'd be really interested in your perspective as a traditional owner and someone who works for Gabrumpa, as to how much of a challenge that is and what mechanisms we might put in place to bridge that connection between land and sea?
Sure. This is going to be a funny response. Please don't take this for the type of employee I am, but I actually ignore those lines. We all know, we're all sitting here, we're talking about this out here, we're all connected, we all know that this word connectivity that we're talking about today, it's cause and effect. We know darn well that if I throw some garbage out here and it goes down the drain, it's going to end up out there, it's going to have impacts, it'll have impact on the species, that's going to have an impact on the environment, blah, blah, blah. The jurisdictional line is a pain. That's the reality of it. So why do we continue to work to it? We can still do our business within those lines, which represents the holistic approach that should be required. My team don't work within those lines. Traditional estates are a prime example. We sit here in the government aspect and we go, okay, we need to look at traditional estates. Well, where's your line? Well, whose country's that? Who looks after that? We've got state, we've got Commonwealth, we've got a constitution that sits over the top and tells us that we can't be in confliction. Excuse me. We have, we have rainforests, we have sea. We all know darn well the cause and effect. Those lines are there to make government life easier. But does it make it easier for that out there? That's why we're out there looking at that. No, it doesn't. So why work within those lines? Acknowledge that they exist, get your business done. But this, to protect that, isn't that more important? I think it is. My team work in the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority, and many years ago there's some compliance issues down in the Great Sandies that the state needed some help with. We said, yeah, we need to go down, we need to give them a hand. Same for the Torres Straits. Same for the other side of the Cape when we're looking at Northern Peninsula area. Our environment, and for my world when we talk about compliance, our problem children who aren't so respectful, they don't care about those lines. So why aren't we adapting? Viewing it for what it is, treating it. They're the risks, which is inclusive of these are the treatments that need to be put in place and ignoring them. That's my advice.
Thank you for your talk, Peter. I was nervous asking questions. I wanted to know if do you feel that traditional owners are being meaningfully engaged in things like reef management and conservation, or do we still have a long way to go? Like, is it still like I don't want to say like tokenistic or surface level engagement, but does that make sense?
100%, you're speaking my language. Look, I raise that because this is one of the best acknowledgements I've actually ever seen. I don't know where it came from, Mish, but it is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, that's an amazing acknowledgement, and I love the wording of it. But is that enough? Is this acknowledgement going to protect our World Heritage Area? Is this acknowledgement going to protect our country, our state, our traditional estates? No. But where are we on that scale? I think we're in our infancy. I don't think we're going to, personally, I don't think we're going to really be able to move from an acknowledgement to engagement and having these conversations, tokenistic conversations. I'm not sure that I'll see it in my life, any advancement past that, but I bloody hope so. I really, really do, and that's why I want to talk about it today. How do we get, and that's my initial question for you guys, how do we get from this acknowledgement of the traditional owners to engaging meaningfully, to leaving the best legacy we can possibly leave? That we're on our deathbed, We're taking our last breaths and we're confident that we've contributed in a positive manner to our world holistically. For my kids, my grandchildren, Lord help great-grandchildren, for my traditional estate, for that out there. We're moving in the right direction, but you individually, me individually, and every single person in this room individually and collectively can contribute and make sure that it's not tokenistic. But we've got to develop those relationships. That's how you get past tokenistic. You have to develop relationships. You have to listen. You have to share. You have to be vulnerable. I think it's wonderful that we're now getting to that space. I think it's wonderful that my granddaughter does a welcome to country at kindy. It was unheard of when I was at school. So we're moving in the right direction. But we're in charge of that momentum, guys. We are, every single one of us. And it goes both ways. Our people can't sit here and use our position to make you feel vulnerable, to make you feel guilty, to make you feel scared to engage. But there is going to be awkwardness. And we both need to accept that, because the answer to protecting this is everybody, all the different expertise, whether it's formal, whether it's traditional, whether it's life learnings. We are all going to bring something to this table that will contribute to the protection of that baby out there. We just got to move from acknowledging to engaging, which I think that's where we're at now, to sitting down, listening to each other and hearing each other and setting a legacy. And I just heard the little bell, so I'm going to just leave you with one more little tip. Get out of the rooms, go and sit down on the grass at every available opportunity when no one likes this. No one likes sitting in a room listening. No one likes sitting down. Stop setting meetings. Get involved in your community, which is inclusive of the traditional owners. We love cup of teas. Pop in and say, g'day, how you going? Sit down under a tree and have a yarn, have a cup of tea. That's how you get business done. Not this way. Anyone else? Going once? Twice? Okay. If anyone has any of those awkward questions, please write them down for me. Yes, I've acknowledged. Yep.
Just definitely talking about the engagement side of it, but I just thought you might be able to give us an idea as far as how it takes more time to do that.
Yeah, 100%. We talked about earlier that around the intellectual and cultural property rights and how it differs. The same actually applies in all traditional owner business. We don't individually speak on behalf of our groups. We don't hold that position or that power. We can't speak for our own groups, let alone holistically every Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander person in this country. It's actually a massive no-no. It's a breach of traditional law systems. So engagement and getting those quick responses that you're after, it takes time. Why? Because it's collective. You'll have family decisions, you'll have the broader family decisions, you'll have group decisions. Have a think about any time that you've had a massive family event, barbecue, wedding, whatever the case may be. There will always be some idiot in that room, isn't there? That will disagree, that will want to argue, that might have a bit too much to drink and Lord knows what else. How do you collectively manage that person? In our world, we go and grab the lawman, we go and grab the old elder, usually our males, and we go, Uncle will have a look, or Dad will have a look, or Pop will have a look, grab one of the young fellas, get him out. There are positions within our society that hold that authority. What that means, we can't speak for a lot of business. It holds with that position and within that particular group. Traditions and customary laws differ from group to group. The only way to know who to talk to, what they can do, what you can do, is that connection. The only way to connect is get out of your comfort zone. Go and sit down, have a cup of tea, have a conversation. It'll come. Any awkward questions, please write them down. Don't be shamed, embarrassed. Don't feel offended in any way, shape or form. I'm here to help you. As you can see, Bob's kindly volunteered. See, that's a good thing about the masks. You can't tell by their body language. That's a face of I'm helping. What I really want though, again guys, is get your shoes off, get outside, reconnect and reinvigorate why you're here, why you're in this room, why you want to be in this room, and ask yourself what kind of legacy you're going to leave for the environment, for your family and for your future generation, because that's a common denominator that we all have. And I'm really sure by all the faces, because they all look really friendly from here, that we can do that collectively. Cheers.